Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, once so proudly we hailed, at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. If you would all take your seats, please. I'd like to thank Jessica Thrasher for her outstanding rendition of the national anthem. And the VFW Band, the longest continuous band in Colorado history. Chaplain, please, if you would join me at the podium.
Aye, sir. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have noticed that there is a small table stage left. This small table is a table of remembrance. It is set for one. It represents the 5 services in time of war: the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Corps. This table symbolizes that members of our professional arms are missing from our midst. They are called prisoners of war, missing in action. We call them brothers, fathers, uncles, sons, friends. They are unable to be with us, so we remember them each day. This table set for one is a small table, symbolizing the fragility of prisoners alone against their oppressors. Remember. This table is white to symbolize the purity of their intentions to heed their country's call to arms. Remember. The single rose displayed in a vase symbolizes the families and loved ones who keep the faith, awaiting their return. Remember. The red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breast of thousands who bear witness to their determination demands a proper accounting of our missing. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. The salt is upon the bread plate to symbolize the family's tears as they wait and wait and wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this day. Remember. Remember all of you who have served with them, who call them comrades, who depended upon their might and their aid, for surely they remember you. Remember. Ladies and gentlemen, since the Spanish-American War, the United States of America is missing approximately 47,800 of its sons and daughters.
Not present, not accounted for, sir.
Please remember them. This is Alan Jaffe, United States Navy, Republic of Vietnam, 1969-70. I'm John Holland, United States Marine Corps, Republic of Vietnam, 1970. I'd like at this time to say grace, if I may, please. VFW, we normally rise. In this room, I'm not sure that's a great idea. Let's just remain seated. We are family. Join hands, please. Lord, behold our family here assembled. We thank you for this place in which we dwell, for the love that unites us, for peace accorded us this day, for the hope in which we expect the morrow, for the health, the work, the food, and these bright Colorado skies that make our lives delightful, for our friends in all parts of the earth. Amen.
Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, you can remove your cover. Dinner is served. We will continue speaking through the, as they serve dinner, if you would. So, my name is Dave Gruber. I'm the Master of Ceremonies tonight. I'd like to welcome you all to the 115th Founders Night celebration. Welcome. We have a number of very special guests here tonight. Obviously, every VFW member is a very special guest, but we have some special guests that we'd like to recognize. So as they're serving, please let me go through this list. Medal of Honor recipient, George Sakato. Medal of Honor recipient, Drew Dix. I saw him come in. Drew said he would shoot me if I asked him to sing, so I'm not going to do that because I take those words very seriously. Former Chief of Staff of the United States Army, General George Casey. Former Ambassador to Iraq and Dean of the Joseph Corbell School of International Studies at the University of Denver, Ambassador Christopher Hill. Past National Commander-in-Chief of the VFW, Richard Eubank. And we have several past VFW state and post commanders with us tonight. Pearl Harbor veteran, Jim Doyle. Bataan veteran, someone who served in the Philippines during World War II, during the capture of Bataan, Hank Cornelison. Battle of Iwo Jima veteran who went in on the second wave, Don Whipple. Tuskegee Airman, Lieutenant Colonel James Harvey. Women's Army Air Corps veteran, Adrienne Hayden. Now, I was taught through my whole life never to mention the age of a lady, especially in company. But in this case, I want to mention that Ms. Hayden is 99 years old. We have two senior representatives of the Veterans Administration, the Director of Veterans Health Administration for Colorado, Lynette Roth. And the Director of Veterans Benefits Administration for Colorado, Renee Murphy. We have the Deputy Director of the Colorado Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Mickey Hunt. Denver City Council President, Chris Herndon. And the President of the Metropolitan State University, Denver, Dr. Steve Jordan. Again, they're serving salads, or serving a dressing, so as soon as you have your food, please begin eating. All right, we'd also like to thank our corporate sponsors. You should see them pop up on the screen throughout the night. They were very generous, and they allowed a number of veterans to attend tonight at no charge. So on behalf of the VFW to our corporate sponsors, thank you very much. We also have a number of special groups here. And what I'd like to do here is read through the groups. Please don't applaud as I read through them. And at the end, we can give a rousing round of applause. The first one, Team Rubicon. The second, Team Red, White, and Blue. Third, the Department of Colorado Veterans of Foreign Wars. Fourth, the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Fifth, the Korean War Veterans Association. Sixth, the Association of the United States Army. We have the student veterans from Johnson & Wales University, the University of Denver, and Metropolitan State University. We also have representatives of the Fisher House, and finally, Pier 1. And a big round of applause for all of our special guests. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please keep eating. We're going to break the event into two parts. We're going to have a beginning part now, and then we'll have an intermission. And then following the intermission, we'll invite General Casey up. So please keep eating during this part. Tonight is a very auspicious evening. We're here to celebrate and honor several historic events. The first is the founding of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. VFW Post 1 is the first VFW post in existence. Our post was formed by members of the 1st Colorado Volunteers returning from the Philippines following the Spanish-American War. They held our first meeting 115 years ago on December 1st, 1899 in the Colorado State Capitol, just a few short blocks from here. We have met monthly ever since. Members of our post and other Spanish-American War veteran groups from Ohio and Pennsylvania convened in 1914 and formed the National VFW. The movement quickly gained momentum. By 1915, membership grew to 5,000, and today our membership is almost 2 million. Since then, the VFW has been instrumental in establishing the Veterans Administration, creating the GI Bill, developing a national cemetery system, and fighting for compensation for Vietnam vets exposed to Agent Orange and to veterans exposed with Gulf War syndrome. In 2008, the VFW won a long-fought victory with the passing of the GI Bill for the 21st century, giving expanded educational benefits to active military, guard, and reserve, fighting in Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom. We're also here to remember World War I, which began in 1914. With what began with an assassin's bullet fired at an archduke in Serbia, ended with a world war that caused 37 million casualties. Although the United States did not join the Entente until 1917, we still sustained over 300,000 casualties. John McCrae wrote a famous poem that begins with the line, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow," and describes the sacrifice of veterans who fought that war. The poem also challenges future generations to continue in their memory. In 1922, the VFW started the Buddy Poppy program to both honor those who fell in war and also to create jobs and income for disabled veterans. Those of you in the post know that we have distributed poppies to raise money and to raise awareness. Each of your tables and each of your plates has a Buddy Poppy on it. Okay. Finally, on this day, 73 years ago, the nation of Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. That led to the United States entering World War II. That war caused over 1 million United States casualties, including nearly 300 fatalities. Our nation's military fought valiantly. If I could have your attention, please, for just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please, for just a minute. We are proud to recognize and host the most decorated unit from World War II, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. The 442nd was comprised primarily of Japanese Americans, many of which had families who our government had relocated to internment camps. This includes Camp Amachi here in Colorado. These men earned a reputation as the Purple Heart Battalion as they fought their way up the boot of Italy from Anzio through Mount Cassino. Although their most famous battle was the rescue of the Lost Battalion. This was the Alamo Regiment of soldiers from Texas who had become entrapped within a German pincer movement. They had been encircled for nearly a week when the Japanese-American soldiers fought through overwhelming odds and at great loss to rescue them. These men are heroes. They constantly demonstrated their motto, "Go for broke." Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Thank you. All of us who are members of Post 1 are here for a reason. We have served in combat zones. Many here tonight have been in combat. We are the legacy of those who have come before, and we are here to remember our service, remember our brothers and sisters who have fallen, and to recommit ourselves to the support of our nation and the Constitution we all swore allegiance to so many years ago. Please continue eating. We will begin the awards presentation in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, one or two of you know that I've spent some time as commander of Post Number 1 and, as a matter of fact, president of the Home Board. Bo, where are you? And get up here, please. There he is. Here he comes. In the deepest, darkest days of the Post, VFW Post Number 1, I got the credit or the blame for just about everything, and somebody else did all of the work, and he's done that ever since. Bo Vikstrom is a friend of Post Number 1, and if I had 10 of him, life would be a lot easier. Bo? VFW Post 1 extends its gratitude to Bo Vikstrom for 13 years of service. Post 1 would not be where it is today without you. Thank you, 2014. At this point, I would like to present the Irving Hale Veteran Organization of the Year award to the Art of War Project to Kurt Bean. Post 1 is currently stationed at 841 Santa Fe Street, right in the middle of the Arts District. And Mr. Bean has the Art of War exhibits going on and brings lots of good attention in our direction. I don't know how I could better say it, but Kurt, you're around here somewhere. Thank you. Irving Hale, Veteran Organization of the Year, Art of War Project, Kurt Bean, in recognition of your organization's success in art therapy for the invisible wounds of war. 2014, 115th Annual Founders Banquet. And the invisible wounds of war are the worst. Come on over here. Thank you so very much. Would you like to speak a few words?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, this year's been crazy, and we're so very thankful to have a permanent space at the VFW. And the VFW has been so gracious enough to donate all the space to us to do all these amazing events, and it's been an incredible year, and the future is very bright for Art of War and healing all these invisible wounds for these veterans. So, thank you.
Well, thanks, Kurt. I just want to say that when we bought the building, we didn't, and I told Kurt this, we didn't buy the building for you, but make full use of it. And I think I'm lucky I've got a 3x3 corner of the building. So our next award, the Citizen of the Year. And I've worked with Elaine on veteran hiring for about 3 years. I've sat in meetings with her, seen her passion and commitment. Ellen manages a team of 37 professionals who are dedicated to reducing veteran unemployment. Elaine works with different groups such as ESGR and Post 1 for corporate partnerships. Company job fairs specifically for veterans, working with ESGR on hugely successful Military Veterans Employment Expo. Putting together unique training programs and corporations and so much more. In the past 3 years, her team has provided one-on-one staff counseling for almost 12,000 veterans. While the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment does not keep track of monthly veteran unemployment, the national average has gone from 7.7% to 4.5% in the last 3 years. And it's because of the work of people like Elaine. Come on. Her staff are committed professionals. As an owner of an executive search firm, I know good and bad recruiters when I see them. Elaine's recruiters are great. When a veteran goes to see one of her people, they're in really good hands. It is my honor to present Elaine Naden with the VFW Post 1 Citizen of the Year Award.
Well, to say that I am thankful would truly be an understatement. I am honored, humbled, and grateful for this award. To think that I did this on my own would be a foolish thought. I'd like to thank my executive leadership team of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Wonderful organizations like the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, VFW, Post 1, Return to Work. So many organizations have helped me with my efforts. I would also like to thank the 37 veteran employment representatives. who are dedicated and they sacrifice their time. I truly am proud to serve with them. But most importantly, I'd like to thank my family because I have put in a lot of time and they continue to encourage me and give me the best support. And I'd like to thank our veterans. The veterans give me a purpose and a reason. And in this last year, they have truly given me a purpose and a reason, and they have touched home. And so to the veterans who leave the battlefield and open themselves up for testing, medical examinations, I really would like to say thank you to you all because your efforts have touched home with my son. And I take my hats off to you. Thank you so much.
I'd like to introduce Post 1 trustee, who is going to be here to help present the Ray Starkey Post 1 Memorial Award. Let me try that again. The Ray Starkey Post 1 Member of the Year Award. How's that? So, Ray Starkey has been a member of the Post since 1951. He has been our chaplain since 1988, and he's still our chaplain to today. Thank you, Ray. We found it was only fitting to name a Member of the Year after our longest-serving member. And with that, I'd like to introduce the VFW Post 1 trustee, Christian, and I'm sorry already, Luvanos.
The recipient of this award must have demonstrated over the last year dedication to making a significant impact to the Post on behalf of the Post. It has been said of this year's winner that he has for some time and continues to put his whole heart and soul into the veteran community. He served in the U.S. Army from 2007 to 2011, deploying to Afghanistan where he led combat missions as a team leader. He is the past president of the University of Denver Student Veterans Association, where he had success in combining the many DU colleges into one student veteran organization, which is no easy task, let me tell you. This member has brought our Post into the 21st century with his willingness to go above and beyond with our website and our social media, and was the organizer and driving force behind the Post's successful Channel 9 Health Fair. Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge this year's Ray Starkey Post 1 Member of the Year Award, Tony Adams.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, that's it.
Unfortunately, Tony just broke Pete Aragon's record for the shortest thank you speech. I think you left your script up here. Oh. Okay, this is the fun part being commander of Post 1, among many reasons. We have set tradition awards we give out. And sometimes the cool thing about being a commander is you can make up a new tradition. Each year, we present an individual with the Member of the Year award. However, there are examples of leadership, commitment, willingness to pitch in, volunteer on so many different occasions for so many years that the current award just doesn't do the situation justice. This year marks the beginning of the Commander's Award. This is not an annual award. Rather, it's at the sole discretion of the Post Commander. And it's based on merit. I can think of no one more willing or deserving of this award. Alan Jaffe is a soft-spoken man who works quietly behind the scenes. Alan neither seeks nor wants recognition. Alan is such a part of Post 1 that I can truly not imagine what our organization would be without him or we'd be here today without him. State MIA POW table, all veteran honor guard, buddy poppy drives, visiting VA hospitals, helping out the post. It's endless. Alan, where are you? Come on up. Told you he was shy. Come on over here. This is so fun. Alan, it's my extreme pleasure to present you with this award and watch as a symbol of our deep appreciation. Let's go, Alan.
Commander, honored guests and attendees, all I can say is thank you. I'm honored by this award, and I'm so grateful that my family is here to share this with me tonight. Thank you.
Oh, hang on, fellas. Sam, can you bring me the plaque? We're a casual group here, aren't we? We're all friends and family. I'm looking for Marcia Harris. Marcia? Marcia, please pick up the white page in line. Marcia? Come on up. Ladies and gentlemen, as ever, we are an organization of firsts, including the very first Ladies Auxiliary. This is the 100th anniversary of the Ladies Auxiliary. Hopefully, you have the opportunity to see the artifacts off to the side, including the original letter incorporating this great organization. I can personally attest to the contributions and support of this fine institution. I can remember a few years back when they were responsible for everything. They did a lot of the programs and really kind of kept us going while we were rebuilding on the back office. To this day, they're the driving force for so many programs: Voices of Democracies, Teachers of the Year, Buddy Poppies, Personal Support, Care Package, Shipments, Event Logistics, and so much more. I am humbled to be here today to present Marcia Harris, the president of the Post-1 Ladies Auxiliary, with a once-in-a-lifetime presentation, the 100th Anniversary Silver Platter. Come on over here. Come on. Lean close. Here you go.
I want to thank Commander Michael for this. We work hard, and our efforts are paying off. And without everybody here, that wouldn't happen. I would like all of the ladies of Auxiliary Number 1 to stand, please. Because it's everybody that does this. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So, and we're moving on to our next 100 years also. So here we go. And it'll be fun. So thank you all for being here.
I'd like now to introduce Brittany Barges, our Post-1 Junior Vice Commander. Brittany is also the past president of the MSU Denver Student Veterans President.
Thank you. I am honored to introduce Dr. Stephen Jordan, president of Metropolitan State University of Denver. His innovative approach to higher education and his passion for making higher education available to all Coloradans have earned local and national praise for outstanding career outcomes and increased quality of education at the university. Under Dr. Jordan's leadership, MSU Denver was ranked the best school for veterans in Colorado and 32nd in the nation by Military Times. As a student at MSU, I would like to personally thank Dr. Jordan and his staff for listening to the stories and needs of veterans to create a supportive space for us to begin a new chapter in our lives. And on behalf of Post One, I would like to thank you, Dr. Jordan, for being here and welcome you to the stage.
Thank you. Well, good evening. How's everybody doing? Great event. You know, as president of Metropolitan State University of Denver and a veteran myself, I could not be more pleased and thankful to be here at an event honoring the most decorated military unit in World War II and perhaps in history. It is truly an honor to be with the 442nd. You know, a week and a half ago, on the eve of Thanksgiving, I was reading a segment of the New York Times Civil War series by Kenneth Davis. And I was fascinated by how integral veterans were to the creation of the national holiday of Thanksgiving. Now think about it, because when we normally think about the history of Thanksgiving, we imagine a group of pilgrims and Native Americans sharing a meal. But as Davis notes, that origin story is mostly legend. Thanksgiving, he pointed out, was traditionally a New England regional holiday. But Thanksgiving became more of a national celebration during the Civil War, when in November of 1863, Abraham Lincoln released a proclamation calling for a day of Thanksgiving to be marked in late November. Now, little is known about the president's motivation, but the war had not been going well. The Battle of Gettysburg the previous summer, while a Union victory, had resulted in a combined 51,000 casualties. And I can't help but wonder if a call for thanks wasn't Lincoln's way of reminding the nation of the great sacrifice soldiers make for our freedom. Some certainly saw it that way, as the very following year, in an unprecedented effort, 200,000 pounds of food was collected and delivered to Union soldiers in Virginia for a proper Thanksgiving meal. And as one soldier noted, it isn't the turkey, but the idea that we care for. Well, as president of MSU Denver, I am reminded daily of the great sacrifice our veterans have made. Military and military-connected students have been a cornerstone of MSU Denver for more than 50 years. And we have a proud tradition of providing active and former military students and their families with education and support that aids in their development, service, and quality of life. According to the VA, there are nearly 9,000 veterans in Colorado under the age of 25, and I am proud that my university serves 1,000 of those veterans today. As you heard, last month we learned that Military Times ranked us 32nd in its Best for Vets Colleges of 2015. Not only were we up from last year's ranking of 50th in the country, but we were the top-rated Colorado four-year school serving student veterans. Our veterans have experienced and overcome many challenges during their military service. The skills, strength, and resilience developed during their service can help with many of the challenges they will experience in the pursuit of higher education. The transition isn't always easy, from a regimented life in the military to an academic environment where they must exercise more, perhaps, independence of thought. But what I do know is that these veterans
have been trained by the finest military in the world, and they will succeed. So, to our student veterans, thank you for your service. To your country, thank you for your service to your community. We will continue to provide them with the necessary support to help them reach their higher education goals. Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, Dr. Jordan. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like we're in a big bottle of champagne. We've kept the noise corked for a while. We want you to have a good time. Please continue to eat. In just a few minutes, we've got Reveille 3. Not quite yet, not quite yet, not quite yet. But in a few minutes, we've got Reveille 3. But right now, make as much noise as you want, talking to each other, and enjoy your dinner.
When he plays, it's a ball. He's the daddy of them all. The people gather around when he gets on the stand. And when he plays, he gets a hand. The rhythm he plays puts the cats in a trance. Nobody there bothers to dance, but when he plays with a bass and guitar, they holler, oh, pee-pee, daddy, to the bar. A blink, a blink, a blink, a blink, a blink, a blink, a blunking on the keys. Ripping out the keys. But when he plays with the bass and guitar, they holler, oh, pee-pee, daddy, to the bar. He plays the boogie, he plays 8 to the bar, the boogie woogie. That is the way he likes to play on his piano. And we all know that when he plays, he puts them all in a trance. The cats all holler, hooray. You hear them say, beat me, daddy.
Another very important event for us is Operation Holiday Heroes. And I'd like to introduce Dana. I'm going to mess it up again. Dana, I'll let you do it. But I'd like to introduce Dana, who's going to talk about that program. Nimala, right? Got it. Okay, up to you.
Good evening, everyone. Could I have your attention, please? I know that there are some folks out there that are not listening. I kind of want to do an army yell or something to get you to quiet up and listen, but thank you. Back there in the back. Okay. Operation Holiday Heroes started out of the trunk of my car with a jolly old fat man with a long white beard who happened to be my father, not Santa Claus. But the reason Operation Holiday Heroes started takes me back to when I was about 6 years old, living in a cul-de-sac in Broomfield. And I remember sitting there when the snow was falling down. I think it was the blizzard of 1981 or 82. I was waiting for my dad to come home. And I had picked out my one present. We were allowed one present on Christmas Eve that we could open up. And I knew what present I wanted. I'm waiting for Dad to come home. He came home, I opened it up, and hallelujah, it was a Barbie doll. It was absolutely what I wanted. And the joy that my father felt by being able to give me that Barbie doll was extraordinary. So fast forward 30 years, and I'm now working for the city and county of Denver, helping homeless veterans go back to work. And I recognized that while these people are working hard every day just to make ends meet, to barely make ends meet, to pay their rent, to cover the electric bill, to pay for gas or get on the bus, what chance do you think they have to get that Barbie doll for their daughter? It's going to be at the bottom of the list, right? So Operation Holiday Heroes was born out of the trunk of my car to help those families deliver those Barbie dolls to their kids, because I know that every parent in here wants to bring joy to their kids on Christmas. We talk about it being about love. We talk about it about being about family. But the bottom line is we know our kids, their eyes light up when they open that package from Santa Claus. So I want to tell you the story of one of the families that we delivered to. On Christmas Eve, we showed up at a Navy veteran's home. He had been homeless, and the VA had helped put him into permanent housing. We showed up on Christmas Eve. He had a tiny little tree in his living room, and there were no presents under it. He had a 2-year-old son, and my father, Santa Claus, and I walked into the living room loaded down with gifts from Operation Holiday Heroes. We were able to fill up that Christmas tree so that veteran had the opportunity to deliver that sparkle to his 2-year-old son. So VFW Post 1 has been a part of Operation Holiday Heroes from its inception. We want to make sure that we're reaching out to the veterans who are falling on hard times. And here's what I have to say about that. Veteran homelessness is coming down in numbers, which is a good thing, at a pretty rapid rate. And that's because there's a whole lot of people in the community who are working very hard to make sure that happens. But even as the numbers come down, we have another issue at hand, preventing it from ever happening again. Every one of us in here knows what we can do to help a comrade out. Operation Holiday Heroes is one way, but the programs in VFW Post 1 are absolutely essential to the reintegration of those who are coming home today to keep them from ever falling into homelessness. So on your table, you have an envelope. You can make a donation to VFW Post 1. You can designate it for Operation Holiday Heroes, and we'll ensure that a veteran family in need is able to provide Christmas for their children. Otherwise, the money goes to essential programs through the VFW that helps our folks reintegrate, because there was an oath we made when we wore the uniform, which was leave no man behind. Even though we took the uniform off, we still have an obligation to every service member who comes out to say, I've got your back. And I know everyone in here does. Thank you very much.
So far, we've allowed you to sing, we've allowed you to talk, we've allowed you to make some new friends, and now we'd like your attention as we get into the formal part of our ceremony. And I'd like to introduce at this time our Member of the Year, Tony Adams. Tony?
See, you guys get to hear from me again, and I'll talk a little longer this time. So it's really my honor and it's a privilege to be able to introduce our speaker tonight. He's the most accomplished person that I've ever met and come to know. During his time in the Army, he at one point in time he had 1.1 million soldiers under his command and a $200 billion operating budget per year. That's a billion with a B. He's responsible for helping take the stigma out of PTSD diagnoses, and he's also responsible for helping to shorten military deployments for soldiers. And on top of that, he's only made me do push-ups twice tonight, so So if you guys wouldn't mind helping me give a warm welcome to our 36th Army Chief of Staff, General George W. Casey. And while you're standing, we're going to take a selfie.
Thank you. I always get nervous when I get a standing ovation before I talk. It reminds me of the old story about the Army general, the Air Force pilot, and the crusty Marine sergeant major. You heard that one? Well, they're all in a prisoner of war camp, and one day the commandant comes in and says, I have some bad news. Tomorrow at dawn, you're all going to face the firing squad. I'm here to grant your last request. He goes up to the Air Force pilot and says, Major, what's your last request? The major throws his scarf over his shoulder, looks the commandant in the eye and says, I'd like to have my last meal by candlelight with a beautiful woman. He says, it will be done. Goes up to the Army general and says, General, what's your last request? The general sucks himself up to his full height of 5'9" and says, I would like to address the troops one more time. He says, it will be done. He goes up to the sergeant major and says, Sergeant Major, what's your last request? He says, I want to be shot an hour before the general starts talking. So, hopefully you don't feel that way when I'm done here. People are always asking me about my transition. You know, what's it like going from being the Chief of Staff of the Army to being an Army of one? And I had an experience, really, right the Wednesday before Thanksgiving that kind of put it all in perspective for me. And I was just sitting in the house doing the crossword puzzle like I do every morning. And the clue was Army head, 7 letters. I went, easy, General. And I wrote it down and kept on going. Well, you know how you're working a crossword puzzle and you realize that that word probably, it wasn't right? And so I kept working it, and I realized it wasn't Army head, it was Army head. And the answer was latrine. And that's kind of how it's gone, you know, general to latrine. Anyway, it's great to be here with you all from the first post tonight. And I must say, I applaud the innovative efforts that you all have taken on here over the past several years. We doing okay over there? But I applaud the innovative efforts you all have taken over the last several years, and especially to deal with the diverse needs of the community now. And they're far more diverse than they were 10 years ago, and you all are leading the way in those areas as well. So good on you. I know it's not lost on any of us that today is the 73rd anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, an attack that severely damaged the United States Navy, that caused the death of more than 2,000 Americans and led to our entry in World War II. Some of you may remember that earlier this year, June 28th to be exact, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of our entry into another war, the war that these poppies came from. World War I was the Great War. It was supposed to be the war that ended all wars. It was a war that was so horrific at that time that no one could fathom a war like that ever happening again. Some 8.5 million men from 16 different countries lost their lives. And somewhere around 7 million people lost their lives. And so on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, when the war ended, no one could fathom that a war of that scope and scale could ever happen in our world again. And so it's interesting to me that since that first armistice day, almost 100 years ago, more than 22 million American men and women have served this country in war. And more than 1.5 million men and women have given their lives, have been wounded, or remained missing in action. I live in Arlington, Virginia, and one of the nice things about living in Arlington, in fact, probably the only nice thing of living near Washington, D.C., is the ability to visit Arlington National Cemetery and the memorials on the mall frequently. And a few years ago, on Memorial Day, after attending the ceremony in Arlington with the president, my wife and I went down to the Vietnam Memorial, where my dad's name is on panel 9 West. And then we walked over to the Korean Memorial, and then on down to the World War II Memorial. And as we did that, I was struck by two things. First, I was struck by the scope of the loss in just those 3 wars. Over 400,000 American dead. And secondly, I was struck by the fact that we had generation after generation of Americans that believe so strongly in the values and ideals that the country stands for, that they have been willing to put their lives on the lines to defend them. And we're very, very lucky to have that. And these are the men and women that we honor every Memorial Day, every Veterans Day, and that we honor here tonight. But make no mistake about it, the freedoms that we enjoy have been bought. And they have been bought through the sacrifices of men and women, the likes of which we honor tonight. And I'd like just to recognize a few of them. Can I ask all the World War II veterans just to stand, or if they're able to raise their hands and wave? Help me recognize them. How about any Korean War veterans? Can I ask you to stand? Vietnam era vets? Thank you. Desert Storm vets. A few, there we go. Iraq, Afghanistan vets. And how about any currently serving members of the armed forces? Good. Thank you. Now, one more. Can I ask all the family members of serving or veterans from our armed forces to please stand? Thank you. Thank you. These veterans and their families inspire us not to take our freedoms for granted, and they remind us that those freedoms aren't free. And I think that's especially important today, because today we remain at war. And I believe that we're involved in a long-term ideological struggle against global extremism. And it's a struggle that I believe is more akin in duration toward the last ideological struggle that we were in, the Cold War against communism. I mean, think about it for a minute. Next August will mark the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. The 25th anniversary of the wall coming down was last month. The Cold War lasted 45 years. The 13th anniversary of September 11th was 3 months ago. We are closer to the beginning of this war than we are to the end. And the fact that we're entering this period with burgeoning deficits, a war-weary U.S. population, and an all-volunteer force that's recovering from more than a decade at war only heightens the challenges facing our country. And I believe those issues are going to complicate our ability to address our security challenges and at the same time care for the veterans of the last 13 years at war. I mean, the deficit is still stuck at around the deficit is still stuck at around a trillion dollars. The debt hovers around 17 trillion. And the threat of sequestration, arbitrary budget cuts, still hangs over the Department of Defense. Now, I suspect these pressures are going to continue to make our challenges much more difficult. And we need to proceed cautiously because we're still at war. That said, we're entering the second decade of this conflict, certainly wiser, and with a combat-seasoned, professional, and hugely capable military. But we're also dealing with the fact that 1.6 million men and women have already left the service and need our support. And let me give you an idea of the scope of the challenge facing us. 2.5 million men and women have served in Iraq and Afghanistan since September 11, 2001. Almost 7,000 men and women have given their lives, and they have left behind 20,000 surviving family members. I wear this bracelet to remind me of the human cost of war. It was given to me by the wife of a 101st Airborne soldier who died in Anbar province in Iraq during my command there. She and her two children are part of that 20,000. More than 50,000 have been wounded, some 10,000 of which will continue to require long-term care. More than 130,000 men and women have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, another 250,000 with some form of traumatic brain injury. Those are the invisible wounds of war. Of the 1.6 million men and women that have already left the service, 160,000 of those are currently unemployed. We can do a lot better than that as a country. Now, I must say, we did get some heartening news on Friday. I've been checking the unemployment rates for post 9/11 veterans every month since I retired. And for the first time in the 3.5 years, the unemployment rate for post 9/11 vets is actually better than the national average. And so we are making a little progress, and that's a good thing. I relate these numbers to you to make the point that we're drawing down our armed forces and arbitrarily reducing their budgets under sequestration while we are at war and while we are still bearing the burden of caring for those who have suffered as a result of the war for the last decade. So the danger signs ought to be flashing for all of us. And this isn't a short-term challenge. And to put it in perspective, last summer, a gentleman who had served in Vietnam around the same time as my father, in about 1968, came down to visit me with his wife, and he just wanted to talk. And they told me that he had just begun to get treatment for his post-traumatic stress 2 years before. So some 40 years after he had left Vietnam. And some of you here understand the challenges that presents. So this is going to be with us for a while. Now, what can we do about it? I've worked for the government for 41 years, so I feel pretty confident that I speak with some relevance about what I'm going to say next. And I can tell you confidently that we cannot nor should not we expect the government to do everything for our veterans. The government is incapable of doing that. No government can deal with the multiple individual challenges that are facing our veterans. And to succeed, it's going to continue to take public-private partnerships. And that's happening around the country. And it's so important for that to continue for three reasons. One, reminder, we have an all-volunteer force and have had for over 40 years. And to sustain that force through the decades ahead, it's essential that we send the right signal to the next generation about the way the public feels about its military. And we need to send a strong signal that military service is both recognized and appreciated by the country. Our first president, George Washington, recognized this a long time ago. And he said, the willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how just, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation. We must take care of our veterans today if we're going to sustain our magnificent volunteer force for the next 40 years. Secondly, every generation of veterans has an awful lot to offer this country. They've led successfully in volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environments all over the world. They understand how to work as members of a team. They can solve complex problems. They have a great work ethic, and they are men and women of character and values who have already made a difference in our world. We all have a stake in their rapid assimilation back into society, and I firmly believe that the country will only be better for it. And third and lastly, today's veterans represent the less than 1% of the American population that has carried this fight to the terrorists on their soil. And it's not a coincidence that we weren't attacked at home until the Boston Marathon bombings last year. The veterans of this war very much deserve our support. Now, fortunately for all of us, the young men and women of this generation are every bit as dedicated and as capable as the men and women who have gone before them, and some of them who we recognize here tonight. Over the course of my time as the Chief of Staff and as the Commander in Iraq, I had the opportunity to present a lot of awards for valor. And three of them stick in my mind. I awarded the Silver Star to Sergeant Kenneth Thomas from Utopia, Texas. Sergeant Thomas was on a patrol in the Tigris River with some Iraqi police in a boat. And as they were going down the river, they were ambushed by 70 to 100 insurgents from the near bank. The Iraqi policeman that was manning the machine gun, the heaviest weapon on the boat, abandoned it. Sergeant Thomas grabbed the machine gun and began to return fire as the incoming rounds bounced off the steel plate protecting the machine gun. They couldn't get through, so they went to the far bank, got out of the boat, and got in a depression. The good news was they weren't taking fire. The bad news was they couldn't get out. So the squad leader turned around to Sergeant Thomas and said, "Get us out of here." And he charged up the steep bank of the river under fire. The river's only about 100 yards wide at that point, only to find his way blocked by a chain link fence. He took out his wire cutters and began cutting his way through the fence. The fence was electric. It knocked him down. He got back up and continued to cut under fire as the gloves melted in his hand. He cut a hole big enough for the squad to escape. For that, he was awarded the Silver Star. I awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, our nation's second highest award for valor, to Sergeant Greg Williams from Fairbanks, Alaska. Sergeant Williams was a medic in a Stryker armored vehicle. A Stryker is a big 8-wheel vehicle that carries about 10 infantrymen. They were ambushed by an improvised explosive device attack that had armor-penetrating explosive devices. He was knocked out. The vehicle was on fire. When he woke up, his eardrums were burst. He was on fire. His buddy next to him was on fire. He put his buddy out. He put himself out. And he grabbed his aid bag and ran out the back of the burning vehicle to begin treating the members of his squad. After a couple of minutes, they realized that the lieutenant was still on the burning vehicle. He went back in the burning vehicle and pulled the lieutenant out. But they weren't out of the woods yet. They were still pinned down. And Sergeant Williams realized that the machine gun, the .50 caliber machine gun, was unmanned. So he went back into the burning vehicle a third time. This is a vehicle that contained all of the ammunition in the squad to include 30 pounds of C4 explosive. He went back in, got on the .50 caliber machine gun, and provided the suppressive fire for the squad to extricate itself, and the squad was saved because of his actions. And I was at the White House when President Obama presented the Medal of Honor to the family of Sergeant First Class Jared Monte from Raynham, Massachusetts. Sergeant Monte was leading an 18-man patrol in Afghanistan, in the mountains of Afghanistan, when they were ambushed by a force about 3 times their size. They organized themselves into a perimeter. He called in artillery fire about 50 meters outside the position, and he personally fought off a flanking attack with his rifle and grenades. As they organized themselves and were beginning to feel secure, they realized that one of the soldiers was lying wounded about 25 yards outside the perimeter. Sergeant Monte organized some covering fire and went out to recover the soldier. He was driven back by rocket-propelled grenade fire and machine gun fire. He tried a second time. Again, he was repulsed. The third time he went out to recover the soldier, he was mortally wounded, trying to save a fallen comrade. Those are the type of men and women that you have in our armed forces today. And that reminds me that nights like tonight tie us to the heroes of our past. And it's by remembering the sacrifices of those who have gone before us that we will ensure that the freedoms that they served, that they strove so well to win, to preserve, and to protect are available to generations after generations of Americans to come. And it's that spirit that is alive in our armed forces today and in our veterans that makes us what we are today, the greatest country on earth. So thank you very much for having me out here. I've enjoyed being with you. Thank you.
I have to go after you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Before we do this, so one of the things that's happened in this last year is we bought a building, and you see the drawings over to the side. And as you leave, please check them out. But part of the advantage of owning a building now is we can pull our really cool stuff out of storage and archives. This podium has been put away for quite a few years. And when Pete Aragon and his crew got it out, dusted off, they got the lights working, they got everything, it's beautiful. And we found inside this drawer an inscription from Founders from 1959. So what we're going to do is we're going to have General Casey sign the drawer. Wow, what a great night. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really mean that. I really appreciate that. I also like to welcome Gerald and George Casey as the latest life member of VFW Post number 1. Wow. I have seen the future of the VFW today, and it is Post 1. Those are the words of Brian Duffy, Junior Vice Commander in Chief and future leader of the VFW. Well, good evening, everyone. This has been an amazing year for Post 1, and I can say we stand stronger here today than ever before. For myself, the last 11 years has been a journey that's still ongoing. When I first joined Post 1, I was one of the youngest men in the room. Both are no longer true. As I approach my 9th, 38th birthday, I see so many younger men and women who are the future of the Post, and it's a bright future. Over the years, because of the dedication of members who never gave up the mission of bringing more energy and more life and bringing back Post 1, we're here today. Through their hard work, the meetings got larger, the memberships grew. Word was getting around. Post 1 is different. But how and why? We became an organization that focuses on programs that make real differences to veterans who need someone to talk to, help them navigate in the benefits, provide a platform for them to get back to their community and feel like they're still part of something great, the camaraderie of fellow service members. Our community has taken notice. They supported us and recognized our efforts. This year, the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce named us the Small Nonprofit of the Year. I can't speak for previous generations, but I do know that my generation, the Gulf era, when we got back, we were more focused on finding jobs and going back to school. But today's generation is different. They have something to say. It wants to give back. It wants to contribute to veterans in the civilian community. Locally, nationally, veterans are starting up organizations that feed and focus on every interest there is out there nationally. And Post 1 is part of this movement. We have had an active year sponsoring Veterans Health Fair, Thanksgiving Meal, Operation Holiday Heroes. This is a long list. Veterans Day Parade, Memorial Day Picnic, film screenings, massive care package shipments, helping veterans one-on-one, and so much more. And I'd like to just have a moment to say, Lacey and Mike, they're soon going to be home from Afghanistan, and we can't wait for them to get back. But all this is only possible with the support of the community. Starbucks, RimCAD, Google, Ball Aerospace. Again, this is a long list. Union Pacific, Johnson & Wales, USAA, National Sin Media, Denver Film Society, and so many more. Besides the financial support and the community partnering, what message are these community partners sending? They are proving that they haven't forgotten what we have done, what the veterans have done for this country. Our community support is what we do. And without their support, we couldn't do it. And for that, we give our greatest appreciation. Over the summer, after so many nomadic years, we bought a building that is now what we call home. There were some discussions. Do we really need a physical building? Can we just use Facebook or email to stay in touch? What about the other social media outlets? It is true that our society has changed. We are no longer a nation of joiners. World War II veteran and member Ray Starkey is here with us this evening, joined the Post in 1951. He met his wife Mona at a VFW Post 1 dance in 1960, but after he checked her out at a Post dance lesson. While there are modern tools that we have adapted to our mission, the power of being together cannot be replaced. Whether it's informal recreation, a support network, an avenue to volunteer, or just hanging out together. These are the foundations of our organization and our platform to our community. Every single time I go on the Post, I see the energy and pride of our members. Our meeting starts at 7 p.m. on Thursday, second Thursday of the month, people. But when I go in there, I see 5, 10, or more of my closest friends there at 4 o'clock setting the place up with smiles on their faces. And I don't think it's all because of the kegerator. The post belongs to us. And when you walk in there, you can feel that energy in the air. You can grab it and you can take it home with you. While we talk about the youth and energy of today's younger veterans, we recognize that none of this would be possible had not the prior generations warmly welcomed us into their post. They showed us the importance of intergenerational camaraderie. We believe opening our doors with free programs for veterans of all ages, such as yoga, art, financial education, vet peer-to-peer, and more, will fight the stereotype of the dark bar VFW. By turning that light on bright, veterans in the community will re-engage with the VFW beyond Post 1. The key is to adapt to the current times. Programs, events, technology, partnering with the Art of War, Team Rubicon, Team Red, White, and Blue, AVER, and more. There are so many veteran organizations out there to engage with. That's how we are adapting to the times, while retaining our commitment to our traditions and history. Where do these ideas, resources, and execution for these programs come from? The members of Post 1. It is because of them that we are the Post of tomorrow, today. I'd like to thank our guests who share our commitment to the veterans community, and particularly Dr. Jordan and General Casey for being here with us tonight. Post 1 owes a great debt to the student veterans. They contributed fresh energy and passion that is building our culture. On these campuses, in this room, at our post, are the future leaders of Post 1. I don't know how many more times I'll be up here. Maybe never. How am I doing? But I do know that the next commander and the next will have a strong and vibrant post. The post that will live beyond everyone in this room, and that's the way it should be. I close with this. When you're a part of Post 1, you are never alone. This is not exactly a formal affair, is it? And I apologize if I got my glass. So first off, I'd like to thank Lou. Lou, where are you? Lou? Lou can't really stand. Lou had surgery on Monday, thanks to the excellent doctors of the VA system. But I would like to say, and this goes back to how proud we are to have our own building. Lou built a gavel for our monthly membership meeting. I think we're going to have a contest to name it. So I just want to say, Lou, thank you very much. As we end the evening, I'd like you to join me in the toast. Can you please grab your glass of water? Water is life. And to this, we toast all those who could no longer be with us tonight. Thank you for coming. It's been an honor. I now introduce Izzy Abbas, former Post 1 commander.
The cool thing about being the former commander is I get to do my favorite thing of the evening, and that's the Founders Roll Call. I would now ask that you all, if you're able, to please stand. On December 1st, 1899, a group of Spanish-American War veterans met in the basement of our state capitol. This group of men laid the foundation of what would become the largest veterans organization in the country. The Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and started what would become the first VFW post in the country, Post Number 1, John S. Stewart, VFW Post 1, here in Denver. 115 years later, we gather to pay homage to these visionary leaders, as well as to all the men and women who have built this great organization. We continue the spirit of service and commitment these visionaries possessed, and we pay tribute to those in the community that have done so much to support our veterans, veterans issues, and the community as a whole. Finally, we reaffirm our commitment to the support these men and women currently in uniform, veterans from all walks of life, our patriotic organization, and of course, the United States of America. In their names, let us continue. These are our founders. Let us always remember.
Thank you, Izzy. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. As we come to the end of the evening, I want to thank a few people. I hope that you've had a great time. My wife and I have had a great time, but this event took a lot of work. I'd like everyone from Post 1 who participated in setting this up tonight, Pete, all the rest of the gang, please stand. The ladies auxiliary, everyone who put out the centerpieces, everyone involved, please. Come on, Mort. And Mort, he didn't stand. I would also like to thank the Brown Palace. They did a wonderful job. It is so fun, so great to be in a historic hotel like we are tonight. So thank you to the Brown Palace. As we come to the end, I'd like to remind everyone who received an award tonight, please stick around. We want to get some photographs up here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you for thinking about December 7th, all of the events that have occurred on this day, and we hope you had a great time. Please drive safely, and this concludes our night. Thank you.